everybody. Top of the Thirsty Thursday morning to all of you. And yes, we do mean you. Welcome to the SWAT presented by DraftKings. I am Emerson Lancia. She is Jessie Cofield. So much to get to in this show. Like NFL football is being played tonight.
What?
The Aaron Rodgers-less Jets taking on the Browns in the Hall of Fame game. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll look ahead to some we'll look at some week one salaries. How about what the hell's wrong with the U.S. women's national team ahead of their next World Cup match? It's do or die time now.
With Sweden, yeah, they got to win or they're going home.
Indeed, and lots of baseball, right? How many games on tonight's slate?
6.
What?
There are 6 games on our MLB night slate, and we can show some pitcher pricing here.
Oh,
so
I like that.
Yeah. So
What
you
do
can
we
see how expensive these guys are going to be if you want to slot them into your lineup.
Brotani on the mound.
Yeah, and we're also going to bring in DraftKings contributors Gary and Thorne, Tanner Kern, and RotoWire's Paul Bruno. So we just saw how expensive some of these pitchers are going to be. We're going to cover the bases here, and would you know it? First base is pitcher.
No way, Jesse.
So, Garion, which of these guys do you want to slot into your lineup?
Yeah, not the strongest pitching slate I've ever seen in my life. Obviously, you could just go with Ohtani. I'm going to go a little bit cheaper here and go with Bryan Woo. I've sort of been smitten with Woo since he's been called up. He had tremendous strikeout potential throughout his time in the minor leagues, regularly posting strikeout rates above 30% at every single level. And while that hasn't quite been the case so far at the major league level, he actually didn't have a single strikeout in his last start against the Diamondbacks. He's still way above average in every single strikeout indicating category you would want to see. He's got a 12.2% swinging strike rate, still striking out well over a batter per inning at the major league level. And the Angels, for as much as they have retooled in the past couple of weeks, they are just a team that strike out a ton. Their strikeout rate is the second highest in baseball across the past 2 weeks. I know it's been a bit of rough sledding for Woo his last 3 starts. He's maybe hit that rookie wall just a little bit, but I like him a lot in this spot, especially at $7,500. I mean, he's got a 3.51 expected ERA for the season. I think he's pretty good.
Tanner, are you going to be paying down at pitcher as well?
Not really. There's a couple premium pitchers tonight, Ohtani and then Julio Urias. I'm going to take him for $9,800. The pitching slate just isn't good. That's the bottom line here. So when you look at Urias, who he's facing makes him even more appealing. Going to face the Athletics. They are last in batting average at 223. They're 26 in OBP at 302, and they're last in runs scored with 391. It's hard to find a category where the Athletics are better than 25th in baseball. So with that being said, I'm going to lean towards Urias here. He hasn't been spectacular recently, 7-6 with a 4.98 ERA and a 1.2 WHIP on the season. He has given up 11 earned run in his past 2 starts to the Blue Jays and the Orioles. So there are some flaws in his game, but the bottom line with him at home, he's actually very good. Opponents are hitting just 203 off him at Dodger Stadium, and he has a 2.47 ERA. So that combined with the opponent he's facing in the Athletics makes me think that he's going to have a good night.
All right, Paul, what's the play here at pitcher?
Look, at fear of missing out is top of mind here. So I think Ohtani has to be a consideration, even at the $11,400 price tag. He did have a string of 3 bad starts recently, but came back with his first career shutout last time out. So it's hard to look away from him. But I agree with the other guys, and I was talking to Tanner before we went to air. I like the call on Urias. He's my top human option, I'll say, primarily because he faces that Oakland single A's lineup, as I call them, putting up 3 great starts in his last 4 outings as well. But I also like the call on Bryan Woo. This guy's been very effective for a couple of months, really, including a very good strikeout rate that should be in play tonight, as was mentioned, and against an Angels offense that's not very intimidating, even with their most recent add-ons, I'll say.
All right, Tanner, as we continue to cover the bases here, after first base comes second base. At second base, we'll cover infield bats. So who stands? I see you nodding in agreement, Garion. Second base does come after first base. Yes,
wow,
you absolutely nailed
look
it.
At that.
Tan, who stands atop your rankings here for infield bat?
I think you're crazy not to take a look at Freddie Freeman, even though he's $6,400. What he's done in this athletic series has been unreal. He's 7 of 9 with 4 runs and 2 RBIs. And I don't care if JP Sears is on the mound. He's one of the best pitchers in the entire Oakland Athletics organization. He's got a whip right around 1. He's very good, but it doesn't matter who Freeman is facing. When when you have the ability to get him, you should take him. He's a top 3 hitter in baseball, and he's shown that he can hit pretty much every pitcher in this Oakland A's bullpen. So even if he struggles early off series, I still see him having a night. He's second in baseball with a 338 batting average, and he's second in baseball in OPS, which is over 1,000. He also has 21 homers. The guy can do everything you want out of a DFS hitter, and that's why I'm going to ride with him tonight.
All right, Tanner, you've sold me. Paul, who can you sell me on?
I like Altuve costing $5,500. That's a little bit off what we usually see him at, but he's been limited by injuries this season. May not be top of mind ownership-wise as a result, so I see him rounding into form of late. 5-game hitting streak under his belt, but he faces Clark Schmidt, who has an elevated home run rate of late, too. That's in play tonight for me. I usually also like to take a look at the hottest batters, but tonight I'm going to pivot from that and look at a guy like Carlos Correa, who's having a nice year, but not so much lately, particularly with a lack of power numbers. He's priced at a discount for only $4,700 tonight. Gets a favorable matchup against Cardinals lefty Matthew Liberatore, who's at elevated ERA and WHIP over 32 innings. So I think that's a favorable matchup for a guy who should get off the power schneid tonight.
Care Bear, your infield bat du jour.
Yeah, you can actually use this guy as an infield bat or an outfield bat.
Wow.
That is the lovely nature of Cody Bellinger, who's one of the hottest hitters in baseball right now, a 188 WRC plus since the All-Star break. But mostly, this is just about the Cubs. I think the Cubs have scored 11 bajillion runs the last 2 games. Pretty good. Pretty good. And the Reds, they needed a starting pitcher. They did not get a starting pitcher at the deadline. And this is getting your comeuppance very, very quickly in the baseball god's eyes. Luke Weaver has been atrocious so far this season. His last 10 starts, opponents in general, doesn't matter if they're left-handed or right-handed, are hitting 326 with a 415 WOBA off this guy in that span of time. That dates back all the way to the beginning of June. He's also giving up 2.3 opponent home runs per 9 in that span of time. I think there's a very good chance that Cody Bellinger goes deep tonight. I think there's a chance that half the Cubs lineup goes deep tonight.
All right, what comes after second base, fellas? That would be
third base.
The
hot corner.
Gary and using his fingers to count. I love it. All right, we're talking outfield bats here. So, Paul, what are you doing here? Are you going to pay up or are you going to look for some value?
Definitely looking at the chalkier side of the board tonight, Jesse, if in this category. Mookie Betts, $6,200 because he's facing the single A's. And so 4 for 8 in the series so far with 2 homers under his belt. I think he adds to those totals tonight. He also gets the platoon advantage as if he needs another advantage against this team, against J.P. Sears. And I like Ellie De La Cruz, who among us doesn't, actually hitting with power of late. 3 homers in his last 9 games played, facing off against Jameson Taillon, who sports a high ERA and not a very good WHIP either. So they're playing in the friendly confines, and you get him for $6,100 tonight.
All right, Gary, and which outfield bat are you going to be rolling with?
I think Paul's right. Mookie is far and away the number 1 option. He has to be your number 1 option.
Guys like
his
you
numbers
and
against left-handed
JT,
pitching this
like
season
other guys
are
on the PGA Tour
ridiculous.
haven't-
He's got a 424 isolated power against Southpaws this season. Somehow it lined up where Oakland was going to start 3 consecutive left-handed pitchers against the Dodgers, and we've seen Mookie Betts go deep the first 2 games. I'll follow Paul's line of thinking here. He probably goes deep again today. But if you do want to, I don't want to say fade the Dodgers because I don't think you should fade the Dodgers. But if you do want to avoid someone as clearly good as Mookie Betts in this spot, I do like that pair of Houston left-handed outfield bats right below him, Alvarez and Kyle Tucker. Clark Schmidt, his biggest issue this season has been left-handed bats. He's got that cutter and that slider that play away from right-handed bats. Doesn't have the same arsenal to throw at lefties, and it has hurt him so far this season. So in Yankee Stadium with that short porch, don't mind those Astros left-handed bats either.
All right, Tanner, which outfield bat do you like?
Give me Lars Nootbaar for $4,400. He's been dominant all season long, batting just under 280 with an 825 OPS. In his past 3 games, he's 5 of 12 with a double, a homer, and a pair of RBIs. So he's been very good. And he's going to go against Sonny Gray. And Gray's an average righty. That's what I would call him. But Nootbaar has absolutely feasted off righties this season. He's batting 286 with a 385 OBP off righties, and 10 of his 11 homers have come off right-handed pitching. So Gray's been pretty good in his past past 5 starts, but it's nothing that Nootbaar can't handle. And then also, when you look at the Cardinals right now, they are absolutely mashing the baseball, which is going to give Nootbaar more scoring and more RBI chances. So I think for $4,400, very good play.
All right, Gary, and put them up. Let me see those tasty sausage fingers of yours. First base,
Why?
second base, third base.
Yeah.
You know what fourth base is called? Home plate,
yeah.
baby.
Let's
Home
go.
plate, Gary Bear. So give me a value bet. That's what we're going to tackle as we cross the home dish. $4,500. Need under that.
I'm going to go back to the Dodgers. Ahmed Rosario. It was kind of a funny trade when they made it because Rosario's having a really rough season. But suddenly he's just batting cleanup against left-handed pitching for the Dodgers, which I don't want to say doesn't make any sense. I mean, JD Martinez, first and foremost, is out with an injury right now, so he would normally be doing that. But even when Martinez was there, Rosario was hitting fifth for the Dodgers against left-handed pitching. He's just $3,900. The overall numbers aren't great, but against left-handed pitching specifically, he's hitting above 300 this season. He's got a 131 WRC plus, and he, like every single other member of the Dodgers, seemingly, has hit a home run already this series off of left-handed pitchers. So I think you go back to the well with Rosario. Anytime you can get a cleanup hitter for a team that has the highest implied total on the slate for less than $4,000, you kind of have to do it.
All right, Tanner, what do you need to do? Value bet under $4,500.
Ian Happ for $3,300. He's coming off a 2-home run day against the Reds, and the Cubs have scored 36 runs in their past 2 games. So the RBI and run chances will be massive for him tonight. When you look at Happ in this series, 3 of 7 with 3 walks, 5 runs, and 2 RBIs. And his price very fairly, too, considering the Cubs have just been hitting the baseball like crazy. They're going to face Luke Weaver, who has not been good at all this season, 6.8 ERA with a 1.6 whip. He did shove the Dodgers in his last starts, but home runs have been an issue. He still gave up 2 home runs in that game, and he's given up 8 home runs in his past 5 games. He doesn't have elite strikeout ability. I think Happ's going to be able to sit back in the box a little bit and maybe not home run, maybe not hit a homer tonight, but still have a very good night at the plate. And for a value price at $3,300, definitely worth taking.
That is all-star outfielder Ian Happ. Go ahead, Paul.
I'm going to the other side of that game, guys, completing a cheap Cincinnati stack. Look at what Canadian left. Cue the national anthem, will you? Canadian lefty Joey Votto leads the Cincy attack with 3 straight multi-hit games, including 3 homers. Also gets the platoon advantage tonight. You get him for $4,300, one of the most compelling choices on the entire board for me tonight. But I pair him with Jake Fraley, who's got 4 multi-hit games in his last 10 starts, costing $4,300 himself with a similar platoon edge at Wrigley. Completing that stack, as I said, Fraley's actually the top-rated guy in RotoWire's projections in this price range at an expected point total of 10.06.
Good stuff, fellas. Hang tight. We're going to take a look at tonight's baseball slate through our sportsbook goggles coming up.
All right, but first, college football kicking off here in a few weeks, so let the trash talk begin, especially on the PGA Tour. A lot of Bama guys, a lot of Georgia Bulldogs there. When I'm talking Bama guys, I'm talking guys like last week's winner, Lee Hodges. So here's part of my interview with him from earlier this week. Guys like you and JT, like other guys on the PGA Tour, haven't really been able to come at you very much over the past, like, what, close to 2 decades.
That's a fact. Yeah, no, we've had a great run. And, everybody says it's over or whatever. I don't think it's over. I mean, as long as Nick Saban's our coach, I think we'll be totally fine. He'll get them right.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how much longer you think Nick Saban's going to be on the sideline for here. I mean, all good things come to an end. The guy's 71 years young here, and some are saying his era of dominance could be over, like starting this season with this young roster.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I think that just makes him want to work harder. I think he's that kind of guy, I think he's the ultimate competitor. I know that. And I think he thrives on stuff like that. I think hearing stuff like that's great for him. I think that'll keep him rejuvenated and ready to go.
I mean, it's like he does get fired up with the doubters. And, speaking of that, like after your win, did you see what the Minneapolis newspaper sent out, like the alert that they sent out after you won? They said, did you hear about this?
I did not, no.
All right, so the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, their push alert that they sent out, the first one said, golfer no one has ever heard of blows out no-name competition at Minnesota's PGA Tour event. Yeah, how does that make you feel? Doesn't that fire you up?
I mean, come on, that's just ridiculous. I mean, Tony Finau's been on the Ryder Cup. JT Poston's a multiple PGA Tour winner. I mean, that field was nice. I mean, there are a lot of good players there. So, yeah, no, I honestly don't care at all. I won the tournament, and I'll continue to play great golf, man.
Yeah, damn right. Lee Hodges used it as like motivation. They did send out a quick follow-up saying Lee Hodges completes wire-to-wire victory at 3M Open, winning by 7 shots. So that has to make you feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. No, at least they said I won by 7.
Yeah, right. Again, largest margin in almost 3 years on the PGA Tour. How many games do you plan on going to this fall? So your dad has season tickets. I know there's like the abbreviated fall schedule like this year. I think 6 or 7 events.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I'll go if I'm home. I'll go. I don't care who they're playing. I love being down there. I just love going to Tuscaloosa. Honestly, I'll go see Coach. I'll go to the facility before the game, hit some balls, maybe go to the football game, come home. It's great.
And now this time when you see him, you can call him Coach and dap him up. Be like, "What's up, bud? How you doing?"
Yeah, what's up, bud?
Well, I know. Lee, I know before college football kicks off here, you've got the FedEx Cup playoffs to focus on. You booked your ticket to the postseason with this big victory. What's the goal now?
Yeah, it's just to keep playing good golf. I mean, that's always been my mantra: is good golf gets paid off. And I believe that with everything that I have is, trying harder or trying to do this, trying to do that. I mean, if you just go play good golf, it's all going to work out for you. Like that's all you really got to do. It's a game and it's a result-driven game, but at the end of the day, good golf gets paid off. So all I'm going to try to do is keep making birdies and not make me bogeys.
Yeah, man, and you get to play at Augusta next season. I know crimson's your favorite color, but rocking a green jacket wouldn't be so bad, would it?
Man, that's probably the craziest thing about this whole thing is I didn't even think about that all week. I probably would have been more nervous. I wasn't nervous at all, to be honest. Like I was just super locked into what I was doing. But if anybody would have said anything about Augusta, I probably would have been like, oh my gosh. But on the 18th green, actually, it was the first time I even thought about it because I was standing there, like, I knew the tournament was over. I had 8-inch putt, and I was standing outside the green talking to Andrew, and I was like, I knew my mom and dad weren't there, and I was like, man, I wish my mom and dad were here. And he looked at me in the eyes and said, "It's all right, bud. They'll see you at Augusta." And I was like, "Oh, whoa!" And it was super cool.
You have a good caddy that he didn't mention it. That you didn't mention it until the 72nd hole there.
He didn't, yeah, until it was over on the 72nd hole.
Yeah. Dude, Lee Hodges, it was awesome catching up with you, man. Thanks for making time for DraftKings, and we'll be rooting for you throughout the FedEx Cup playoffs.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it so much.
Good stuff, man.
Hey, dude, thanks so much. A lot of people, I've had the higher ups. Jason Robbins reach out to me. Everyone's like, dude, you crushed that interview. And I said, thank you. I'm aware and I'm happy to help.
Yep, absolutely. Well, something we're really excited about.
What's that?
Football is happening tonight at 8 o'clock.
Hall of Fame game?
Hall of Fame game, Cleveland Browns, New York Jets. We're going to bring in DraftKings contributor Jeff Ulrich here. So, Jeff, we're excited that there's football, but
hey, listen.
Are we? It's kind of like fake football.
Yeah. They have a lot to prove, both these teams. Whether they choose to actually start proving at tonight.
We know they're not because it's the Aaron Rodgers-less Jets. So, overall thoughts on the Hall of Fame game and the Jets aren't playing Aaron Rodgers. So, what are we really looking at?
Oh.
Hey, don't besmirch the Hall of Fame game, please. I mean, look, these two coaches take the preseason pretty seriously. Kevin Stefanski 4-2 straight up lifetime. Robert Saleh 5-1 straight up lifetime in preseason. 5-0-1, excuse me. Robert Saleh undefeated in preseason. And Kevin Stefanski's 2 losses by 1 point. So I think you're going to see a more competitive game than people think. At the same time, yes, it is preseason. None of the starters are playing. Zach Wilson's playing. He's not a starter. He's probably going to play 1 drive. So rein it in a little bit. You can keep your bet sizes. Your unit size is small if you're going on the game, obviously on DraftKings Sportsbook. But I think this is the preseason game. It's an extra preseason game. So what you're going to see is you're going to see some 3rd and 4th stringers get extra run. I mean, the Cleveland Browns are planning to start their 5th round draft pick. Play their 5th round draft pick, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the entire second half. They want to give him some run. You're going to see a UDFA on Cleveland and Hassan Hall get a lot of run probably in the second half of running back as well. And on the Jets, Chris Trevler, former CFL legend, is probably going to play the entire second half as well. These are the kind of names you're going to be seeing. There's going to be some opportunity to see some rookies too, Cedric Tillman, obviously, but That's just the game it is. It's an extra practice session essentially for these two teams because, it's with the induction ceremony in Dayton.
All right, Jeff. So this is going down in Canton, Ohio again because it's the Hall of Fame game. This is the first taste of NFL action for NFL bettors this season. What, if anything, are you going to target on the DraftKings Sportsbook for tonight?
So, look, I've got two bets. And again, we don't need to go crazy here.
No,
we don't need to blow our bankrolls out. It's the Hall of Fame game. Let's rein it in a bit. But at the same time, I mentioned Kevin Stefanski's record. He's never lost by more than a point in preseason. I'll take the points with the Browns here quite happily. They've got two rushing quarterbacks in Kellen Mond, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I think they're going to be able to move the ball because the defenses just play really vanilla schemes. So at the very least, we're going to get two rushing quarterbacks on the Browns playing the entire game. I like that. Cedric Tillman potentially could break free for a big play. And look, hey, it's Zach Wilson. Let's just keep fading Zach Wilson. That usually works. So I really don't mind taking the points with the Browns here. They're also a lot of public money for some reason is coming in on the Jets. Who's betting this game anyways? But if you're going to bet, I like the Brown side. And then for the total, I actually like the over here. Preseason overs tend to trend a little bit towards the over. We get really low totals. But again, we've got two teams that like to play competitive football. These two head coaches tend to just play right down to the very wire in preseason. That's good for an over. Again, we're not going to get these like wasted end of game drives. So 33.5, I like going over on the total as well.
All right, well, now let's take a look ahead to week one, okay?
Yeah.
Some real football that we can talk about. So, salaries came out. There's obviously some players who might be maybe flying under the radar here, maybe a little underpriced, maybe worth slotting into your roster here for that week one lineup. Let's start with quarterback. Who do you have your eye on here?
Oh boy. Look,
oh brother.
Let's go high-low here. Let's start because Anthony Richardson is 5,600, and my God, like I just don't think you're going to see this price on Anthony Richardson after week one. I really don't. I know he hasn't even been named the starter, but 3 straight days he's taken the first team reps now in India and for the Indianapolis Colts at camp. Everything coming out of camp is just how, not just the athleticism, but how well this guy's processing everything. Remember, it's basically had one season of quarterback play. He is progressing at an insane rate right now, and I think he is going to be the starter. And look, Jacksonville, they're a good team. They did give up the 9th most points against, just in terms of a per-game basis, to the quarterback position. They gave up the 2nd most rushing yards to the quarterback position last season. This could easily delve into shootout territory. I really don't mind playing this game if Richardson is a starter at 5,600. Like I said, you got to play him if he gets named the starter. But Justin Herbert at 6,900 is another player I really keep my eye on. Don't forget, Jalen Ramsey is out. Kellen Moore, now the OC for the Chargers. This is going to be an air-it-out, run-and-gun offense, more so than last year. That's why they drafted Quentin Johnston. I think Justin Herbert's in a really nice spot. Again, Miami allowed the 2nd most fantasy points per game to the quarterback position last season. They're down one of their top corners already. I think Justin Herbert's in for a big week one as well.
All right, his running back, Austin Eckler, not underpriced, but give me a dude in the backfield who catches your eye week one.
Yeah, again, look, we're like a month out here, so things could happen. Guys could be added. But, man, I really like the spot for Rachaad White week one. He's 5,500. He's got the entire backfield to himself. Maybe Sean Tucker gets in there and makes some noise and takes a few carries eventually. But, like, for week one, Rachaad White at 5,500 looks like just a fantastic value. He was a great receiver last year. He got around 50 catches. They're going to expand his route tree. They're already talking about a bunch of empty back sets where White is going out wide and stuff like this. It's going to be on the field a ton. I think Rachaad White at 5,500 against the Minnesota Vikings, who allowed the 9th most receptions to the running back position last year and just really aren't a very good defense outside of a few pass rushers, is a great matchup. I think that's just a great game to target for DFS, or it's going to be anyways, assuming we don't get like massive injuries to Justin Jefferson or something. So I think Rachaad White, 5,500, very good value. And just to go along with that, Cam Akers at 6,200, I think another running back just under the radar right now, has the entire backfield to himself, could potentially be a great week one value as well.
All right, wide receiver who might be under the radar. Who are you looking at?
Yeah, again, I have just a laundry list of value plays that you could target here for week one. And again, it's early, it's camp, who knows what's going to happen with these guys in a month, if they'll all be healthy. But Christian Watson, Chris Godwin, I just talked about the Bucks. Mike Williams at 5,700 to pair with Justin Herbert, Deontay Johnson at 5,300. But let's talk about Chris Olave at 6,500, because that is the player I am really excited for this year. I think of any of these mid-tier, sort of upper tier wide receivers who could really just make a huge jump into the next tier, like the elite tier, I think Chris Olave is that guy. He can do it all, and he's only 6,500 in week one. He's going up against one of the worst secondaries in the league in the Tennessee Titans. They allowed the most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers per game last year. Sean Murphy Bunting is now there, but he's really just more of a slot corner, or at least he was in Tampa. I'm not sure if they'll even put him on Olave, and if they do, I'm not really afraid of the matchup. Let's see what Derek Carr can do. I mean, the Saints didn't get Derek Carr in here to hand the ball off. Alvin Kamara might also be suspended week one. I think Chris Olave at 6,500. I think we'll be looking back at this price in a few weeks, after the season gets started, and we'll be saying that was just too low. So I really like Chris Olave week one in that matchup.
All right, we'll wrap up this segment with tight end, my dude. Looks like Austin Hooper, 3K, new tight end one in Vegas.
Yeah, but what about Michael Mayer at 2,800?
Okay.
I mean, a rookie, I think if you're going to go really low, that's where I would go. Tight end to me it's tough week one. We don't know what the usage on some of these rookies are going to be like. But I think that the safe play for me for tight end would be looking to the top. I mean, TJ Hawkinson at 5,900. I mean, there he is, the mayor himself. I think that's a good punt play. If you're going to go low, I think, again, looking at Denver, they've got really good boundary corners, but they weren't really that great against the tight end position last year. They're a bottom 10 team just in terms of fantasy points allowed. So, Jimmy Garoppolo, not really what I'd call like, a stretch passer. I think that he may just, end up targeting Mayer in the red zone as well. So that's definitely one option. But paying up for TJ Hawkinson here seems fine. Again, a game with a lot of just passing, blowout potential. 5,900. Tampa Bay defense certainly not so great against tight ends last year. So I think Hawkinson is fine. But again, tight end I think is going to be one to watch. You're going to have to see how some of these cheaper tight ends progress as camp goes on. Really hard to make a call, I think, on tight end for right now.
All right, good stuff, Jeff. Thank you so much. We are going to turn our attention to the World Cup after this. Will the USA women survive the knockout round? I don't know. Future is unclear.
They're done.
Oh, my God.
Done.
football is life.
It certainly is.
And you are looking at the Women's World Cup bracket as we move to the knockout stage. So we'll talk about how we got here with DK Nation's Chinmay Vaidya and RotoWire's AJ Schulz. Fellas, before we talk about this knockout round here, reactions to group play, biggest takeaways other than the U.S. women's national team is underperforming, AJ?
I mean, it seems kind of obvious to mention, but we've got a ton of teams here that should have been or were expected to make it out of the group stage that haven't. Germany this morning, the biggest shocker. Obviously, Brazil yesterday. Italy, another top 15 ranked team that's out. In their place, we've got 3 teams from pot 4 of the group draw, the lowest ranked teams in Nigeria, South Africa, and Morocco that all made it through. I think a lot of people with the expanded field were expecting the group stage to be pretty straightforward. The teams that were expected to win would just win, and the other teams would just get knocked out, that we were somehow diluting the pool. That has been the opposite of what we've seen. We've seen some of these teams really competing well. And Morocco to bounce back from that big loss to Germany in the first one and then ultimately take second spot in the group, I think has to be the story thus far of the group stage.
Chinmay, does that speak to just like the level of play around the world has just gone up?
Yeah, I think AJ, summed it up perfectly. When you have 3 teams that were ranked in the top 10 in the FIFA rankings, including number 2, Germany, not making the round of 16, that shows how much the game has grown around the world. This is the first time that 3 African nations have made it to the round of 16. This is the first time that one of the co-hosts, granted, New Zealand was not ranked as highly as Australia, one of the co-hosts has not made it out of the group stage for the first time in the World Cup. So we've seen even some of these top teams that have, put on big performances, like Sweden struggled in their opening game against, I believe it was South Africa. England had a pair of 1-0 wins against Denmark and Haiti before destroying China. So it's not like even these top teams that have performed or have gone through the group stage have performed all that well. It just speaks to the quality across the board and should make for a very fun knockout stage as hopefully this run of parity continues around the world.
Well, gentlemen, let's dive into some of these matches. We'll start with Saturday morning here, Switzerland, Spain. So, Chinmay, what's the bet in this one? Looks like the talented Spaniards are rightfully massive favorites in this opening fixture.
Spain is a big favorite in this game, and I'm not quite sure why. Switzerland's defense has been really good in the group stage. They haven't allowed a goal through 3 games. So I'm actually taking the under on the total. 2.5 goals comes in at -110. And I actually like a draw in regular time as well. Comes in at +390 on the DK Sportsbook. I think Switzerland holds against a Spanish team that really struggled against Japan despite dominating possession and dominating shots, couldn't find the back of the net. And Switzerland's defense, we know, has performed well through 3 matches. So I like a low-scoring draw here in regular time.
Okay, AJ, what do you like here? Swiss undefeated in their opening 3 matches.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true. Their defense has led the way there. They've only scored 2 goals, though, in those 3 games, a pair of 0-0 draws to get to this point. I think your options are one of 2 things. You can go Chinmay's route. You can take the under. I would go so far as to take Switzerland on the money line here at +750 if you like that option. It's a ton of value there for a team that really could pull off a win. If you're more confident in Spain, I think you double down and take Spain and the over. I think those are really the 2 outcomes. If this game goes to 3 goals, it's probably because Spain's going to win. Due to the lack of offense we've seen thus far out of Switzerland. But if they keep it tight, as they have all tournament, the Swiss could win a low-scoring game.
AJ, following that match, Japan, the favorite over Norway. What's your play from the DK Sportsbook here?
Well, I'm going to stay away from betting a result in this one. Norway playing without Ada Hedgeberg, and they've still managed to win. It's not a walkthrough game for Japan. Now, they did really take it to Spain, as Chinmay mentioned. So Japan obviously playing well here. So I'd rather take some goal scorer props here. On the Japan side, Hinata Miyazawa is +210 despite being tied for the Golden Boot lead. That's really good value for a player that's already got 4 goals in this tournament. And then on the other side here, obviously Hedgeberg at plus 300 if she plays. Sophie Roman-Haug at plus 350 is also another option on that side. I think you could also look at both teams to score. Comes in at minus 105. I don't think we'll see either team failing to put one in the net here. It's just a matter of who has the most goals at the end of it.
All right, Chinmay, how are you approaching this one?
So both these teams, you could argue, had fluky results in their final group stage game. Norway absolutely dominating Philippines to a level that we hadn't seen from them in the previous two matches. And Japan, I think their first three shots were all on target, all went in the back of the net. They had like 20% possession, but we're up 3-0 at halftime. That's probably not going to happen again either. But I like Japan's rotation throughout the tournament. They've managed to rotate their players in and out very well. And they seem very efficient in attack, and they're probably more experienced playing together than Norway has been, at least in this World Cup. Norway has not looked good in terms of building an attack forward. So I actually like Japan on the spread, minus 1.5, comes in at plus 220. And I like Yuki and Tanaka each as goal scorers, anytime goal scorers, both of them coming in at plus 175. I think Japan continues to dominate here. Norway kind of falls back to earth after a big win over a bad Philippines team.
Well, Chinmay, speaking of falling back down to earth here, I know it's been a great run for an emerging South African side. You looking for the Dutch to bring him kind of back to reality a little bit on Sunday?
You know, all of these big odds, these long shot odds, have not really played out in the actual games. As we mentioned earlier in this World Cup, we've seen like minus 20,000 on the money line and it ends up being a draw. We've seen like minus 5,000 and the team that's heavily favored ends up losing. I actually like South Africa plus 1.5 goals here. Comes in at plus 125. I don't know that they'll have enough talent to withstand Netherlands for 90 minutes plus extra time, plus if it goes to penalties, that sort of thing. So I would take the Dutch to advance. But as far as just pure resiliency goes, I think South Africa has shown that they're not just going to fade away. Even in that final match when they needed to qualify against Italy, they scored one goal to tie it and then had that third goal to eventually get the winner and defended at the end to kind of secure that victory. So I like South Africa's resiliency here. I think I'll take them plus 1.5 goals, plus 125 for regulation.
All right, AJ, what's your bet in this match?
Yeah, I like Chime's option there, giving some goals to South Africa. I think Netherlands wins, but if you're taking them on the spread, you have to go to minus 2.5 to get value at plus 145. That's a little bit too long for me. So I like Chime's option there. As an alternative for goal scorer props again, or shot props once those become available, Jill Roord has 3 goals. She's averaging 5 shots per match right now. I would expect her to put plenty of offense in this one. So once those goal scorer or shot props are available for Roord, I would definitely target those. But I think Chime hit the nail on the head with South Africa plus 1.5.
All right, guys, finally, AJ, Sunday morning, Sweden versus USA.
USA!
Been an underwhelming tournament for the ladies of the United States of America. Any chance they can turn it around here in the knockout stage?
I mean, there's always a chance. I'm a little worried about this one, to be totally honest with you. And while I'll be cheering for the U.S. with how underwhelming they've been, I think I'm going to bet Sweden at plus 260 in this one. They're one of the top 3 teams in the world right now. They cruised through their group with 3 wins and a goal differential of plus 8. As you mentioned, the U.S. have really been struggling. And look, at the end of the day, it's a win-win. If the United States loses, I've made some money. If they win, it's money well spent for me. So while I'm hoping that I'm wrong, I think the smart bet is on Sweden in this one.
All right. It's sad. AJ is a traitor, but Chinmay, I'm just kidding. Chinmay, what do you think here? Do you have to be smart and go with Sweden?
Is the smart money actually on Sweden? I'm not too sure about that. Look, there have been a lot of problems with this U.S. team, and they've been well documented by plenty of people, across the media sphere, across the Twitter sphere, from the armchairs. But the reality is that the United States have only allowed 1 shot on target through 3 matches, and it happened to go in. They were a goalpost away from being sent home, and they know that they've been underwhelming. But The reality is they've only allowed 11 shots through 3 matches. They took 17 as a team in that Portugal game alone. So the difference hasn't been that they've been, dominated across the board. The difference has been they just can't put the ball in the back of the net. And I don't know that they're going to be able to do that against Sweden, but I think under 1.5 goals here at plus 185 is phenomenal value given how well the Americans have defended in this tournament. I like a draw at plus 220. I think, as long as you can defend well, you're going to be in the match. And it might not be pretty. It might not be the play that fans have been used to seeing from this United States team over the past few World Cups, but it keeps you in the match. And I'll take the U.S. to advance on penalties since I like the draw. I'll take the U.S. to advance on penalties at plus 800. I think the Americans survive at least one more round.
I do not know.
Sad.
We'll have to wait and see. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Farewell. Red, white, and blue. We love you. Okay, we got to take our final break. When we come back, our baseball dudes will return. We're going to put our sportsbook goggles on and take a look at tonight's 6-game main slate right after this break. All right, Tanner Kern and Gary and Thorne helped us earlier in this program, helped all you guys and gals watching build a money-making lineup. We talked DFS. You see the 6-game main slate on your screen right now. So we're going to poke over to the DK Sportsbook, see which bets that these two dudes recommend. Paul Bruno may or may not join us. We don't know what the hell happened to him. But I do know what my first question is going to be. And Tanner, I'll start with you because you were excellent. You had a wardrobe change. This is really serious stuff here.
Yeah,
I know.
impressive.
This doesn't happen very often on the Sweat. Run line or money line bet you like tonight, T?
I'm going with the run line. The jersey change will hopefully bring some good luck here. Dodgers run line -1.5 at -130. It's a little juice, but when you're facing the Oakland Athletics, that is a bet worth taking for the Dodgers. Julio Urias is going to be on the mound. He has not been great this season, but I tested to in the DFS segment that he's been very good at home. Opponents are batting just 203 off him at Dodger Stadium. He has a 2.47 ERA. When you look at the Oakland Athletics, it's probably their best chance to cover in this series with JP Sears on the mound. He is 2-7, but he has a 4.09 ERA with a 1.05 WHIP. He's been very good, especially in Oakland, but it's not going to be good enough to beat the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're playing great baseball right now. They won the first game of the series 7-3. They won yesterday 10-1. So they've outscored the Oakland Athletics 17-4. I think we're going to see a similar result tonight, and I'm willing to lay the juice at -1.5 because of that.
Gare Bear, what are you willing to do tonight when I ask you about a run line or money line bet?
I'm going to go with the Cardinals at +110. I just don't like how the Twins match up in this spot. Yes, Sonny Gray is taking the mound. I would say he's a better pitcher than Matthew Liberatore, but Sonny Gray's had a little bit of a rocky go his past couple trips to the mound. His last 4 starts, he's rocking a 6.08 ERA. And Liberatore, while he hasn't been great this season, he is left-handed, and that has been the kryptonite of the Minnesota Twins all season long. They come into this game ranking dead last in baseball in batting average and WRC plus against southpaw pitchers. I just don't know if the Twins are going to score that many runs. I still have a lot of faith in this Cardinals lineup, even though their bullpen's a little rocky. So, maybe first 5 might be a way to attack this with a little less stress, but I think Cardinals at plus money on the money line is a very solid bet.
All right, Gary, and rolling through here, which game total do you like?
So I mentioned this earlier. I think we all talked about this earlier, but got to keep going back to the Reds-Cubs. I mean, it's 10. It's a big number. Don't get me wrong, but there have been so many runs scored in this series already. And you've got 2 starting pitchers taking the mound in Luke Weaver and Jamison Taillon. Taillon's been better lately, but both of these guys are still rocking expected ERAs well above 5 this season. The Cubs could get here by themselves. I truly believe that. Luke Weaver has been that bad so far this season. The Cubs have been that good at hitting the over. They actually are hitting the over at the second highest rate of any team in baseball, just trailing the Dodgers so far in 2023. They're covering the over 55% of the time this season, and that rate jumps to 61% when playing games at Wrigley, which makes sense. Wrigley is a fantastic offensive environment as long as the wind is not blowing in. It is not blowing in today. I think the runs are going to be plentiful, just like they've been the last 2 days. Easy over here.
Tanner, are you brave enough to rock with the over on the only double-digit total on the slate?
I'm not. I'm going to go in a completely different direction here. I'm going to go with the Yankees and the Astros to go under 9 runs. You look at Christian Javier on the bump for Houston, 7-2 with a 4.33 ERA and a 1.19 WHIP. Been very good in his past 2 starts. Going against Clark Schmidt for the Yankees, 7-6 with a 4.4 ERA. When I look at Clark Schmidt, he's been up and down, but he has not given up more than 3 earned runs in his past 5 starts, and he's gone at least 5 innings every time. So that's something to note facing a talented Houston Astros offense. And we look at the Yankees yesterday, they did score 7 runs, but that's not the norm for the Yankees as of late. They are not a powerful home run scoring team. I think we're going to see them revert back to the norm a little bit today. Houston might hit the baseball, but this game stays under 9 runs.
All right, I say first 5, Tanner. You say
Toronto Blue Jays -0.5 in the first 5 here. I hate to do it against the Baltimore Orioles, but I think the Orioles' lack of desire to go out and get a big name during the trade deadline is really going to affect them here because they're bringing Jack Flaherty to the mound, and he's not that good. He's got a 4.4 ERA with a 1.55 WHIP. He does not move the needle for Baltimore, and I think we're going to see that today, especially in the first 5, where this Blue Jays offense has been very hot. So if they can get up early, I think Kevin Gausman's going to shut the door on them. 8-5 with a 3.1 ERA and a 1.13 WHIP. In his past 5 starts, he has been phenomenal. I think it's going to be very tough for Baltimore to hit the baseball early, and I like them to be up by at least a run going into that 6th inning.
All right, Gare, I know you kind of recommended one earlier. What about now?
Yeah, let's go back to that Yankees-Astros game. I'm going to side with the Astros at -115 first 5. I just think the pitching matchup advantage is pretty notable here. Christian Javier has been bad the last 2 months. Let's get that out of the way. But as Tanner mentioned, he's been better his last 2 starts, and I think that last start against the Rays in particular was really, really important for him. He had 1 bad pitch. He hung 1 slider to Brandon Lau, and Brandon Lau hit it 500 feet for a 3-run home run. That happens every now and again. But in totality, that game was a really positive step for Javier. He had a 20.2% swinging strike rate in that contest, and that's been the big thing for him. That's been the difference between the guy who helped throw a no-hitter in the World Series and what he's been this season is he's just not striking batters out at the same rate in 2023. But we saw some signs of life in that last start. I don't love Clark Schmidt. He's fine. Like, sure, 3 earned runs in 5 innings, fine, but not very good. And in general, the Astros offense has been so much better than the Yankees since the All-Star break. The Astros have a 122 WRC plus in that span of time. The Yankees are all the way down at just 88. So I think all indications have the Astros winning this game. They'll get up early as well.
All right, Gary, and plenty to choose from. Which player prop do you like for this evening?
I'm going to go with Mitch Keller to go over 5.5 strikeouts against the Brewers. I will say the Brewers, for a time, were the highest strikeout rate team in all of baseball. They have been much better about striking out in the last 6 weeks. However, they are still, sporting a 23% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching this season. It's pretty middle of the pack. So I don't think it's a great matchup. I don't think it's a bad matchup. This is mostly just about the fact that Mitch Keller has been really good at going over this number so far this season. He's gone over this prop 15 of his 22 starts in 2023. That is a 68% hit rate on this prop. Keller is rocking a career high strikeout rate, just under 26%. He's been really, really good so far this season for the Pirates. One of their few bright spots. I think he gets 6 strikeouts tonight.
Tanner, which player prop are you going to be rolling with this evening?
So I talked about Freddie Freeman in the DFS segment. I'm going to go to him here to go over 1.5 total bases. I wanted to play his over 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs, but minus 155 just wasn't worth it for me. I'm willing to stick that in a parlay, but I don't want to play that straight up. When we look at Freddie Freeman, 7 of 9 in this series, 4 runs and 2 RBIs. He's doing everything. He's hitting the baseball, and that's exactly what he needs to do tonight to cash this prop. JP Sears on the mound. We talked about him a little earlier, but ERA right around 4 and a whip around 1. Very good, but Freeman's a top 3 hitter in baseball. He's done everything right this season, second in baseball in batting average, and along with OPS, which is over 1,000, also has the 21 homers this season. I think we're going to see a lot out of Freddie Freeman tonight, and again, he can have 1 extra base hit and clear this prop, so I do like it.
Tanner, who's going yard? All right, this was a big bet of yours not too long ago. You were mashing this bet on the DK Sportsbook. Do it again for us right meow, please.
This is my claim to fame here. I do love this bet. I will say that. Yordan Alvarez at plus 320 to hit a home run tonight. He has 2 homers in his past 5 games, and he has recorded a hit in every game since returning from injury. I believe that's 7. He looks very comfortable at the plate. His OPS in his past 5 games is 1254, and he's going to face Clark Schmidt tonight. We talked about Clark. I do like the under in this game still, but his biggest issue is that he gives up home runs. He's allowed a homer in 3 straight games. He also has 5 homers allowed in his past 5 games. He's an inconsistent pitcher. He doesn't have a great strikeout rate. I think Alvarez is going to be able to sit back, swing away here. And 14 of his 19 homers have also come off right-handed pitching, so that favors him here off Clark Schmidt because Schmidt is a righty. So we'll see what happens here, but for plus 320 with a short porch, I like it a lot.
All right, Gare Bear, home run prop tonight, please. Who's sending presents to the people?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could basically take a lot of the names you've already talked about in these 2 segments. Alvarez, I like. Mookie Betts, I think that's like plus 230, so it's not a ton of juice, but again, fantastic matchup. But I think best bang for your buck, Cody Bellinger, plus 425. Again, he's been one of the best hitters in baseball the last 3 weeks. I think there's going to be a lot of home runs in this game in general. Luke Weaver, 2.3 opponent home runs per 9 his last 10 starts. He cannot keep the ball in the ballpark. I think Bellinger has a really good shot at going yard at Wrigley today.
Yeah, coming off his best month of baseball in quite some time as well in July.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Double
Later,
pulling
dude.
double duty today. We like that. That is a show.
Okay.
But the
What?
fun does not end. A 6-game Madden slate starts at noon, so tune in for that. And
Really?
I will be back here tomorrow. Oh, maybe that's all. No, there
All
is at
right,
noon.
we'll see everyone tomorrow. Have
I'll
a
be here
good,
tomorrow. Emerson
good
will
day.
not.
Have a good day.